Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 11th of January 2023. Got quite a few things to talk about, so this might run on slightly longer than usual, but here goes. I guess the most important thing to talk about, and thanks to a viewer who sent this in to me, but apparently there is a consultation ongoing at the moment from the government asking the public what their thoughts on the proposed digital ID might be. And yeah, it's looking like they're trying to roll this out, bringing in digital ID. And I think the plan of action is to have this public consultation, which has not been made at all public, not been publicised very well at all, and when you do get to it, it's quite convoluted apparently. And so coming out with your concerns is quite fairly hard to do, deliberately of course, so that they can get it through, and then they want to get it become legislation, I guess, during the summer, and for it to fully come in by the end of the year. But there is a guy who talks about it in much more detail than I can, knows about much more about it than I do, and he's actually got a thing on his site which simplifies the questions the government are asking, so you can use that as reference. So I'll leave his video, it's on this platform, I'll leave it in the comment section and the description box below. But funnily enough, he's a car guy who normally talks about cars, but is talking about this stuff at the moment. Kind of the opposite to me, because yesterday's video, I, as you know, obviously talk about this stuff normally, but I was talking about cars. So kind of the opposite way around to this bloke. So that's a bit funny, isn't it? But anyway, he has looked into this consultation and this proposed legislation, really carefully by the look of it. And if you go onto his description box, not mine, but the one after his video, go into the description box, and he's got a link there to the consultation itself and the proposed legislation, and also his simplified version of it all, and then you can make yourself acquainted with what it's all about, and then go and make your concerns known to the government on this consultation after that. But you've only got until March to do it, so they're not giving us a very big time frame. So I've said before, the three pillars of the Great Reset and incoming kind of social credit score systems and everything like that, it's going to be digital ID, it's going to be CBDC, central bank digital currencies, and UBIs, universal basic income. And once they've got all of those three into place, well, there's nothing stopping them from exercising almost total power and control over the likes of you and me. So it is something that we just cannot afford to allow to come in. So we need to be on guard about this, and we need to really sort of push back against it. So as I say, I'll leave this guy's video. It is circulating all over the place, so you might have seen it already, but if not, it is in the description box and the comment section below. I do believe that Richard Vobes, a guy many people watching me know about, I think I saw a video from him about this today as well, but the guy I'm talking about really has gone into it in depth. So yeah, go and check that out. So other items of news, I see that the BBC have been forced to acknowledge well, how should we put it, harms from the big V at last. It's a topic they've desperately tried to avoid for a very long time, but it's getting to the point where they just cannot do it anymore. We've got this ongoing thing about excess deaths, which apparently is getting up to somewhere around 20%. So that's the number of people who are expected to pass away every month and every year is a certain level, and the level we're at now is 20% higher than that. So it is a big number. A lot of people are dying, and the BBC have been forced to acknowledge that at least one of the causes of that is, well, you know what. And also they've been forced to acknowledge a similar kind of thing. You might recall there was a lady called Lisa Shaw who passed away, must be getting on for 2 years ago now. She's a presenter for, or was a presenter for BBC Newcastle Radio, and she went along dutifully, just under 2 years ago for her number one prod, and sadly soon went into a coma and never recovered and passed away. So a very sad event, and apparently the coroner's inquest has only just taken place fairly recently, and the conclusion has been that it was the AZ one that caused it. So the BBC, of course, have had to report on that. I'm sure they didn't want to. I'm sure they wanted to report on a completely different verdict, but they can't be falsifying verdicts from a coroner's court, can they? So it is starting to come into mainstream media, and I think the powers that shouldn't be are beginning to panic. They really are, and a sure sign of it. Don't know if you've seen this news yet, but Andrew Bridgen, the Conservative MP I have been talking about a few times recently, he has been standing up there in Parliament speaking out against the big V and saying that it should be withdrawn. Well, the powers that shouldn't be do not like that at all, and they've had to slap him down, of course. So apparently he made a tweet saying that he wasn't even saying it, he was just quoting in his words, a cardiac consultant, and who I'm pretty sure is probably Asim Malhotra, who knows his stuff, but it could have been another guy, I don't know. But any cardiac consultant will know his stuff, I would have thought. And they were saying that these problems caused by the big V could eventually become equal to a certain word that starts with H. I'm not going to say it because it's obviously got Andrew Bridgen into hot water, so I'm going to say the word that starts with H, which happened to people of a particular religious belief system who belong to that system, who were persecuted during the Second World War and were sent off to camps. And I think you know what the H word is that I'm talking about there. And this consultant was saying that the V could be equal to that, which they're not wrong. I think that could well be the case. It could be equal to it. It could exceed it, especially when you take it worldwide. I think they're very much on the right track. But of course, you've got all these people screaming out now about that. How dare Bridgen compare the glorious V to that H word thing? He's so out of order. We want him to be punished. We want him to be struck off, sort of hounded out of Parliament, etc., etc., etc. Everyone from a lot of the mainstream media to Sunak to Hancock and a lot of other people who are obviously sort of puppets of the powers that shouldn't be, are all kind of crying out against Bridgen, and the upshot of it is it looks like he's going to, it's called losing the Conservative Party whip, which basically means he can't be an MP under the Conservative banner anymore. He can still go to the Houses of Parliament. I think he's been suspended for 5 days as well from actually going to Parliament, but he can still, once that's expired, he can still go there, basically be an independent MP until the next general election. So they haven't got rid of him totally, but they are sort of trying their best to get rid of him. And in my mind, to my mind, that just shows that he is, speaking the truth and saying a lot of things that the powers that shouldn't be don't like. So that means, he's got to go, or he's got to be severely punished at the very least. You know me, I always like to look on the bright side of things. At least it means he's not controlled opposition, doesn't it? If he's copying this amount of flack. So I would say to the powers that shouldn't be, well, first of all, my first observation is if you've got the likes of Hancock and Sunak and Starmer as well, and all of their like, kind of going on about how bad Bridgen is, well, to be honest with you, I wouldn't take anything they say seriously at all, because if they're calling someone bad, when you consider how bad they are, it probably means that person is actually a fine, decent, upstanding human being, which I believe Andrew Bridgen is. He's just trying to highlight concerns that many people have got, and I think he may well be suffering at the moment, suffering from this persecution at the moment, but he's going to be proved to be on the right side of history. And I do believe, you may be disheartened by this news, but I think, again, looking on the bright side, it is a sign that the powers that shouldn't be know they are losing. They know they've got a huge fight on their hands, and they are panicking, I think. And I think what's going to happen, bearing in mind that Andrew Bridgen's speech in Parliament that he made just before the Christmas break, where he was sort of calling for the poke in the arm to be withdrawn, that has got apparently 5 million views and counting, probably more than that now. And there's a lot of people who probably weren't even aware of this issue, who are going to be sort of thinking to themselves, hang on a minute, he's speaking out about this stuff and now he's sort of basically being kicked out of the Conservative Party. What's going on? So I think this is going to raise eyebrows amongst the general population, or many people in it at least. And I think it's going to just show the powers that shouldn't be up for what they really are, just a bunch of petty tyrants who are panicking and who are getting desperate, and who, well, we all know who is going to end up on the right side of history when this all comes out, and it will come out. Believe you me, there's nothing these people can do to stop it now. More and more people are becoming aware of this issue, and in my video yesterday I was saying about how many people, or the majority of people, just aren't taking the offers of prods in the arm up now, and they're getting wise to things, and they're also getting wise to how sort of devious and dishonest mainstream media and the government are. I'm pretty sure if you did a survey right now, how much do you trust the government, or do you trust the government? Do you trust the mainstream media? It'd probably be 20% do trust, 80% don't trust. I think it really is sort of getting to that stage, and yeah, it really is getting to the stage where if the media and the government and these government figures are making a huge outcry about something, you can be sure that the person or organisation that the outcry has been made against, that the persecution has been made against, is telling the truth, and is someone who should be respected and listened to, really. So I'm going to leave it there. Just maybe one last observation before I go. This is getting up to 16 minutes. I don't really like my videos to go on too much longer than this, too much more than this. But I would say if Andrew Bridgen is forced to become an independent MP, I really do think that is the way to go. I know the next general election, if I vote at all, it's not going to be for any of the major parties. None of them deserve my vote. None of them deserve your vote. They're all puppets of the WEF. They're all bought by the powers that shouldn't be, and you're just going to get more of the same whoever you vote for. And it seems the only people with any integrity are those with a certain amount of independence of thought, independence of thinking. So I think the next general election there could be a lot of independent people standing in all the various parliamentary seats, and let's hope that quite a lot of independents get elected, or in Andrew Bridgen's case, re-elected. So that might be a thought for you. Forget about the mainstream parties, vote independent. So with that thought, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll be back tomorrow. And that video I talked about this digital ID thing, be in the comment section and the description box below. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.